Click the links, join the channel here over at subscribe right now over at Odyssey. Thanks to the 11 new members. If you're in SJW, please click off now. You're not going to enjoy the video, and I definitely won't enjoy reading your long, passive-aggressive word salad, just paragraph after endless paragraph of all these buzzwords you learn from some Marxist professor that even they don't believe. So Dakota Johnson doesn't know if Madam Web will be any good, but she hopes she did okay. Oh no, baby, what is she doing? This is why they had public relations people, or why some actors should not be speaking to the press without that PR person sitting next to them with a little taser. Just give them a little shock every time they, or hold your hand over their mouth and answer the questions for them. See, the thing with the media is like a variety type of magazine. This isn't hard-hitting news. Both the actor and the magazine are really there to sell this movie, not to give a cutting-edge interview, because otherwise Disney's just not going to give you another interview with this. So this is kind of it feels like the reporter didn't get the memo. Anyway, so and the thing is, I'm sure everyone knows that this movie's it's like in and out of the theater, and nobody, it's like, let's just forget about this. Let's just pretend this movie didn't happen and move on to it. It's like, yeah, it's weird. Like Hollywood keeps putting out these feminist movies, and they just keep losing money, and you keep doing it. So women are telling superhero stories from a male point of view, because it's current year, my guy. Women can make movies that lose a lot of money also. That's empowering. So the only valid feminist stories are stupid men's stories told by even stupider women, or their stories about their vagina. Ordinary women ignore their stuff mostly, but it seems to be an endless source of confused fascination for feminists. Their stories are not organic, so they fail. This isn't who women are. It's who globalist media brainwash young women into thinking they should be. Or women are only telling these stories because the feminist movement told them that they had to, because men enjoy these stories. And feminism is convincing women that they have to act like men even when they don't want to. So it all feels artificial, which it is. It's, astroturf, not grassroots. So they tell these chimera stories that nobody wants. The only reason it continues is because the Bolshevik movie companies are willing to subsidize this propaganda in their quest to subvert and corrupt nations of the West. I am a woman expert. I can tell you what they want simply by looking at the womanly movies and books that sell successfully and the ones that don't. Just what sells is mostly focused on romance, relationships, or seeing themselves as the beautiful focus of attention, the princess type, and stroking their egos with echo chamber reinforcement like Barbie. And don't get me wrong, male movies are just as stupid, but they're stupider in different ways. But male movies don't try to be for women. They know their audience, and they're just going right to that audience. Men don't want to tell their stories via a female point of view because it takes so much extra work to try to write that character. And what's the point? Just let a woman tell the story of the woman. Nobody's going to tell that story more accurately than the woman herself. But Hollywood is controlled by this cult of globalists that evolved over 150 years from communism to its current, even cringier iteration. It's gone so far into Weimar that some of the men are actually sterilizing themselves in the name of their new religion. Where if you're removing body parts, then I think it's safe to say you've been brainwashed. And if their worldview is that we're the bad guys because we're the Hugo Boss because we tell them they may wish to think twice before they remove their ability to reproduce, doesn't make any sense. But that's what being in a cult is. And when the foundation of their belief gets a light on it, they panic. Hollywood only makes sense when you view it as a demon-worshipping religion of blood-drinking people who fly to islands type of thing. So anyway, these chimera stories where women are retelling male stories from a vagina point of view, women don't write adventure superhero stories. The evidence is the past 200 years of literature or movies. Men write those characters, and with comic books, silly comic book movies, and they are, those characters are written for boys. So it's not just me saying this. Please point to the women characters and women writers who are creating these stories. That's not what they write. So it's like this feels artificial because it is artificial. It's just like a Larry Fink checklist for diversity, inclusion, and equity. Like, how do you make things that aren't equal? Istophobe says what? a logical statement is Islamophobic to you, I don't think that bodes well for your movement. But the Marvel and DC comics are silly derivative stories to start with, loosely taken from Greek, Norse, or biblical stories and heroes. So Marvel took those stories and then they dumbed them down even further to get away from that mythology because, ultimately it's like they were just throwing stuff against the wall. And also they wanted to own the IP rights to it. But now in Hollywood, the globalists sit around a pile of cocaine and a deceased lady's negotiable affection and come up with these new feminist interpretations of silly comic book stories. But now they have titties with them, or in this case, B cups. So it's derivative several times over. It's pure distilled Hollywood poison. The ultimate popcorn movie. It's just the worst combination of empty calories with no nutrients. And they don't even do something as well as Transformers did it when you had that girl running through the desert with her big jugs. Running through a green screen with her just boobs bouncing all over the place. That's a movie that is understood internationally because it's just CGI explosions and a buxom young lady. But these movies, you don't even get that. It's like you get the Ghostbusters of movies where there's no sex appeal, there's no comedy, there's no action adventure. It's all just it's unbelievable fat women doing with CGI characters. So why exactly are people watching these movies? And Kevin Feige is just confused. The thing is, more people just need to be honest and start the dialogue about what dangerous bullshit cancer feminism and diversity is. But you have to say it with a straight face and a tone of voice, at least, written online, as if you don't understand why these pussy soy boys would get their panties in a bunch over saying diversity is cancer. I just don't like diversity. I want to see myself represented on screen. I see people who look like me. I need more blonde hair, blue eyed people. I just want all, like the Swedish bikini team the casting should be just all like Germans and Swedes. You'd like Germans, wouldn't you? It's like everything they default to is a conflict from like 70 years ago. But you have to just say that, like, oh, feminism, no, those aren't my values. And they lose. It's like this steam coming out of the ears with an old Mel Blanc's cartoon. So you can actually set up the argument and undermine their first retort by saying online that every time you express yourself about what toxic diversity and feminism is, all they have is an ad hominem and straw man. And this is a wonderful technique because the pseudo-outraged soy boys will realize that their first response was going to be an ad hominem. This causes their brain to start spinning because he realizes that all he has are personal attacks. And the truth of the matter is most of these panty-sniffing perverts can't say why they like the movies because they didn't watch them. Movies underperformed. Oh, hey, women, the Marvels, how come you didn't go see the Marvels and you saw Barbie? And they don't have an answer to that. It's like, well, it's an action-adventure movie. It's really for men. Okay, then why'd they make it? Men don't want to see this. Oh, well, the men are sexist. Because they don't want to see propaganda? Like, ultimately, they don't have an answer because it's like, it is propaganda. It's the definition of propaganda. So no, pussies. Diversity, representation, inclusion are not reasons to like a movie. All that nonsense just means you're repeating lines that your puppet masters taught you. All these things are literally the definition of propaganda. 99% of this story is from men. It's 4 times derivative, but after all these years, you put a woman in charge of writing a character for women that women don't care about because, and I know this is triggering, that boys are not girls. Because women are the sex objects of desire when young, and then they turn into mothers. And their song, I'm thinking about that song. Their story is centered inward on the family and tribe by, who's that guy? Jack Johnston or something? And the male story can be centered outward on adventures outside against the foreign evil. That's classic storytelling that's worked for a long time, but I guess now it's politically incorrect to say that because they're all, a bunch of globalists. Because Hollywood needs to destroy every tradition, even to the point of cannibalizing itself, by deconstructing its own formerly male stories, which were crap to begin with, but now are just completely pointless by using women instead of men, so none of it makes sense. And here you have this 35-year-old woman whose natural role, SJW's earmuffs, is at her age to have fully grown daughters of her own, assuming she had her first kid at 16, so her kid would have a 3-year-old kid of her own. And I know the SJW is like, women can't consent under 30, and they shouldn't even think of having kids under 40. They should just be sleeping around, preferably interracially, and then you shouldn't be having kids at all. Yeah. Good luck with that. That is the natural order: family, children, tribalism. But Bolsheviks have to destroy that. And once you view Hollywood through the lens of their globalists whose goal is to subvert and corrupt the West, everything they do starts making sense, because otherwise their movies are pointless. Who wants to see a 35-year-old grandma running around like Spider-Man? It's feminist cringe. A female director is making a movie for women that women have no interest in, which sounds like the Marvels or Charlie's Angels or Terminator, where they kill off the two male characters. They did the same in Disney Star Wars, where Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Han Solo is, none of that makes sense. He's deleted by his son, and the audience didn't care about it. And then Luke Skywalker disappears for some reason. He's like sending a spiritual form, astral projection, and then he just dies. Why? Because he's male and he's blonde, and we had to get rid of him. That's basically what it is. So you got a bunch of women doing stuff that men should be doing in a genre that is dead. The superhero thing came and went. Hollywood killed it like they killed Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and anything you enjoy. If you're of European descent, they hate you. And once you understand that, things become clear. So you should always poop on soy boys and cat ladies. Keep talking about how lame girl power heroes and diversity are. It gives other people courage to just wash off the political correctness and speak from the heart about cringy, globalist, diverse feminism, which is cancer. And say it as often as you can on social media to normalize it and push the window. Plus, it's fun to watch pushes on Twitter lose their mind and personally attack you. I can't believe first that Nazi told me not to mutilate myself. Then they said my corporate Hollywood movies are propaganda. How intolerant. We should threaten them with violence and defend the trillion-dollar entertainment industry, where the liberal position now is they're just simping for Hollywood. For big corporate media, medical industry, suddenly they trust this. They trust the medical industry. It's like, what happened? They trust Hollywood, and they trust CNN, and they trust Disney, and they trust the government in foreign wars as long as they're told to do something. You're like, what happened to the left wing? Like, weren't you guys the counterculture? You're not the counterculture. You're not raging against the machine if your views are in line with Chase Bank. Bank of America, Chase Bank are funding your parades, and you're on the same side as every corporation, mainstream media company, mainstream social media company, every financial institution, the government, and the schools. You're all on the same side, and you think you're the counterculture. How does that work? Like, how do you? The thing is, I know there's some older liberals who are looking around and going, "Oh, we got subverted and corrupted," but we can't say anything because the new young left wing is just so mentally ill, confused, and brainwashed and violent that like they don't want to hear a different perspective, even if it's like, so if you're in a cult, if they tell you not to talk to outsiders, or if you have to censor and deplatform other people's opinions, because if you have good ideas and you know how to reason and you're logical and you know how to make an argument, then you're not scared of outside opinions. You can argue your opponent's argument, because to know your opponent's argument is to know your own. But like the left wing now is in a cult, because they say, oh no, there is no counter argument. The communist dialectic predicts these things. Like, don't talk to outsiders. Yeah, that's cult behavior. You're in a cult. That's what a cult is. If you have the better argument, you want to be heard, and you want to sharpen your argument against other people. The left wing has bad ideas that they can't express, they can't articulate coherently, because they're fundamentally bad ideas. And if they would sharpen their argument against outsiders, they would come to the right wing. They would realize, like, oh, these are bad ideas. We have to be nationalists. We have to be base Chad Hugo bosses. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys over on Subscribe Star Odyssey, and I'll see you next video.